Whew. Yeah. Hello. How you doing? I just had a nice sleep on this Thermarest Prolite Apex here. And it was such a nice sleep that I'm going to do a little review for you of this thing. And what I'm going to do in this review is I'm going to talk about my almost 2 years of experience owning this pad. I'm going to get into some of the important specifications, what it's like to actually use this pad, and compare it to some of the other pads out there in the market. So enough of this introduction, and I'm going to get into the important details right now. Clearly that introduction was fake. I didn't just sleep on this pad. You know, sometimes it's nice to catch people's attention and that sort of thing. But what I want to discuss is talk about briefly why I got this pad, because I got it almost 2 years ago, and then I've kept it, maintained it. I think I'm going to keep it for the medium term at least. And what occurred was I needed a pad for the colder temperatures, for shoulder season, maybe some light winter camping sort of thing. And I kind of got tired of some of the inflatables out there that, yeah, they might be thicker, they might be lighter, they might have a better R value, a slightly better or similar R value, they might have newer technology. But I kind of got tired of those because they're such a crapshoot. You don't know if it's going to be comfortable for you. You don't know if the R value is going to hold up. And you don't know if it's going to be that durable. So I decided, based on some past experiences, to kind of go back to self-inflating pads and give those another try. Because I had used self-inflating pads starting out, just Thermarest pads like many people, and they did me well. So I ended up getting this because it was one of the lightest pads for that thickness, and I like the durability, and I like this combination of foam and 2 inches of thickness. I felt like those statistics appealed to me, so I tried this and another self-inflating pad, and I just ended up keeping this one. And I've continued to use it for trips that I know the temperature is going to be, I don't know, I'd say about under 40 degrees, about there. What I'd like to focus on next is some specifications that I think are important. If you want to look at all the specifications, you can go to the Thermarest website or some in-depth reviews, and they'll go over all that, but I want to focus on the ones that I feel are important. First of all, thickness. Okay, it's 2 inches thick in the ridges. The valleys are a little less thick, maybe an inch and 3/4, inch and a half. And for a self-inflating pad, under 1.5 pounds, that's a pretty good thickness. I feel that it's about enough for me, and I'll talk more about my user experience later. Now the weight, the listed weight of this, 22 ounces. On my scale, it's about 21.8, 21.9, so a tenth or two less than the specification sheet. And for a self-inflating pad that's 2 inches thick, that's pretty good weight. Not the lightest out there, but it's good enough for me on the weight scale for my purposes. And then R value. So the listed R value for this is 3.8. When I got it, the R value was 4.0, but there was a standardization of the R value measuring and how to determine that over the past couple years. And they kind of redid the R value on this, and it dropped a couple, but it's still in that range that's recommended. 3.8, about 4. That's recommended for the edges of 3-season backpacking. And then the fabric. Okay, so the fabric is like a 50 denier polyester on top and bottom, and that's very durable for abrasion resistance. A lot of the latest and greatest pads out there might be 30 denier, 20 denier, even 15 denier. This one's going to be a little bit more durable on the abrasion. You're still going to have to worry about punctures with this, like any pad, but nice thing about that is this has foam, a little bit of foam, so if there's a puncture, there's going to be just a little bit of cushion there, not that much, just a little bit of cushion that might help you get through the night. And then the final thing I wanted to focus on was this has the old style Thermarest valve. Because I purchased this, the first version of the Prolite Apex when it came out, they did not have the new wing lock or twin lock valves from Thermarest, and it's just the old style. You know, it's the old style. This thing's tried and true. I've been using Thermarest pads for like 20 years, and I'm used to it. I'm sure the wing lock is nice. I don't have a pad with that, but yeah, this will get the job done for you. So I just wanted to note that it's not the latest and greatest valve, but it's worked for me, and the valve hasn't been a problem. let's get to the part that you're all here for. I know you're all here for this. Let's talk about the user experiences. Is it warm? Is it comfortable? Does it hold up? All that stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the most important thing first. Is it comfortable? Okay, as I mentioned, is it 2 inches of thickness at the thickest part? And for me, I would say it's comfortable enough. It's not the most comfortable, I'll admit that, but it's not the most comfortable. But I have an Emo Tensor. Yeah, that's probably a little more comfortable. I have a Neo Air Topo Lux. That's 4 inches thick and actually thicker in reality. And yeah, it's not going to be as comfortable as those. But I don't find it so uncomfortable. I don't want to use it. So uncomfortable, I want to get rid of it. So what I do have to do through the night is, I might have to switch sides. Switch on. I'm a side sleeper, so I'll switch to the back. Switch over to my other hip here, and maybe I'll try to sleep on my back for a little bit, which that usually never works out. But so I might have to switch my sides a couple times at night because my hips and my shoulder get a little bit sore. But that even happens to me on regular beds these days. So that's just my own personal experience. The comfort is going to be more. I feel it's better than a lot of 1 inch or 1.5 inch self-inflating pads out there. I actually compared this with the Sea to Summit Comfort Light. I found this more comfortable and decided to keep it, but that's just my opinion. So yeah, comfort, it's enough. Let's talk about another thing for people that might be my height. I am 6 feet tall. I'm actually 6 feet and a quarter, and I'm truthful on dating apps. I don't say I'm 6'1". I say I'm 6 feet. So the length, 72 inches, your standard regular size pad. I feel like I fit all the way, right? I got my head on the pillow. My feet might be hanging off a tad, but you don't usually sleep with your feet all the way extended. They might be bent a little bit. And on my side, I feel like I can get all the way on. Now, edge collapse. I think edge collapse is an important issue because that tends to happen with some of these horizontal baffle pads. And this is kind of horizontal baffle, but not like the Neo Air. And so if I go all the way to the edge, I feel like I can use the full width of the pad. I don't feel like I'm going to fall off all the way on the edge. And that holds true for the end as well. I feel like I can use the full length too. So that's another great factor of this particular pad. Another user experience, warmth. Okay, like I mentioned, I've used this down into the upper 20s is the coldest I've used it. And I feel that it is warm enough in those temperatures. I did not feel like the pad was the determining factor in that might have made me chilly for a particular evening. I'm not sure how cold you can go with this pad. It's a 3.8 R value. It's not exactly rated to be like, expedition worthy or anything like that. I'm not exactly sure how cold you can go, but I do feel that self-inflating pads in general, I feel that they outperform their R value, whereas in many people's experiences, your newest inflatable pads, the thicker inflatable pads, they tend to not maybe perform as the R value is stated. They'll say it has an R value of 3 point something or 4 point something, and it's good down to 20 degrees. And then a lot of people review it and come back and say, oh, it didn't keep me warm. In my personal experience, I feel this outperforms its R value a little bit, its warmth rating. But gosh, sleeping bag warmth and comfort is so personalized, so who the heck knows? So that's just my opinion on how warm it's going to keep you. On the upper end, I don't feel like it gets too hot. As I said, I slept into this into like, low 70s probably. This fabric, it's smooth, it's comfortable. These ridges might be a little uncomfortable against your face, but I feel like if it's warm, it's not going to be too hot, and I feel like this fabric is comfortable enough to put your skin directly on. Now let's talk about durability. Okay, so durability, as I said, 50 denier polyester fabric, the abrasion and all that, it's going to hold up. You're going to have to watch out for pokey things like any pad. And I'll admit, I did poke a hole here in the bottom. Maybe you can see that little black circle there on the foot end. And I did poke a little bit of hole, and I believe that came when I was rolling it up. And I was not paying attention to where I was rolling it up. And there might have been a little rock or something, or some little sharp thorn that I rolled it up on. So that's something you're going to have to look out for with any pad is make sure you're not rolling it up on a thorny or spiky or sharp, rough surface, and you might get a little pinhole. Luckily, I was able to just put glue on it, resolved that issue with the hole, and as you can see, this thing hasn't deflated as I'm sitting here talking. Speaking of inflation, deflation, I want to demonstrate how I like to deflate this and inflate it real quick, okay? Because I think that's important for this type of old style valve, and it's also important to talk about in terms of people don't like self-inflating pads. One reason, because it can be difficult, time consuming to deflate it and roll it up. Well, first off, what we're going to show here is I've let the air out to a point that I feel like it's naturally going to self-inflate to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many breaths it takes for me to inflate this. So I've inflated it, and it is at its sort of natural resting point for self-inflation. And we're going to see how many breaths this takes. It's 2. That's like 2.5 breaths. Okay, so that's pretty good. I like that. I like that it only took me 2.5 breaths to fill that up after deflating. Now, sometimes it might take me 3 or 4 full breaths, okay? But that is still great. I have an Emo Tensor mummy pad, and the short mummy, only 48 inches long, and it takes me more breaths than that to blow that thing up. As I mentioned, I'm just going to demonstrate the roll-up and deflation process real quick for you. And what I like to do is I like to keep this thing all the way laid out, fully wide, and not folded in half. And so, as I roll it up, I'll push down with my hands or kneel on it, my knees, and that helps get the air out as I roll it up. Okay, and I'm going to skip ahead. We're going to skip ahead until when it's all rolled up. So I've rolled it up in its full width, and you know, you can take this and you could put it in your pack vertical wise, or you could strap it to the outside of your pack, and I'd recommend putting it in a protective sack if you're going to strap it to the outside to prevent poking holes in it. But what I like to do is I unroll it again, and then this is where I fold it in half to make the most compact size you can get. So I fold it in half again, and okay, yeah, I guess it's annoying that it might take 2 rolls to get this to a small enough packed size, but I guess that I'm used to it because I've been using self-inflating pads for so long and used to some of their idiosyncrasies that some people might call hassles. I call them whatever, idiosyncrasies. So I unscrew the valve one more time to get any remaining air out there to make it as small as possible. Screw it back up. And okay, here we go. And here's the pack size. I don't know what that is, probably 10 inches wide, 5 or 6 inches thick. To compare, this is the Neo Air Topo Lux. The rolled size is about the same as a Neo Air Topo Lux. This is 4 inches thick. This is 25 inches wide. So yeah, this doesn't pack down the smallest, I'll admit that. The Prolite Apex, not the smallest. I'm gonna get an Nalgene real quick to compare it to as well. All right, here is the 2 sleeping pads with the Nalgene, and as you can see, yeah, okay. it's a bit bigger than Nalgene. It's gonna be a bit bigger than your self-inflating, your inflatable, non-self-inflating pad out there. And so yeah, pack size, that's probably one of the downsides of this, I'll admit to that. Let's talk about how well it can fit into its stuff sack. And this is the Thermarest Prolite Apex stuff sack. And using that method that I use, the sort of 2-roll method, it easily fits in the stuff sack. So definitely a roomy stuff sack. That's a rarity in the world of sleeping pads because, you know, with your sleeping pad and your tent and your sleeping bag, you're always trying to just wedge it into the stuff sack that's too small. Well, this one's big enough. I actually don't use the stuff sack. I just take a strap and I put the strap around, and then I buckle it and cinch it down to make it as small as possible in my pack. and I like using that better than this stuff sack personally, but that's just me. So that's a variety of user experiences that I've had with this so far, and I hope maybe that helps you a little bit. To circle this whole thing back around a little bit, I wanted to return to why you might get this pad. I mentioned it in the reasons of why I got it, but I wanted to compare it real quick to other stuff on the market. Okay, so in terms of self-inflating pads that are 2 inches thick, that have an R value of, that this does, a 3.8, this is going to be one of the lightest ones out here. Comes in at 22 ounces. And compared to the other ones on the market, there aren't a lot of self-inflating pads these days. I know Sea to Summit has some, Big Agnes has some, Nemo came out with the Nemo Flyer. There might be a couple others out there that I'm forgetting. REI offers some. But in terms of pads that are 2 inches thick, this is going to be pretty much the lightest I could find. Some are an ounce or two heavier, some are even heavier, some are less thick and heavier. So the weight for self-inflating pads, this hits the mark. And then you combine it with the 50 denier fabric, you combine it with that R value of 3.8. I feel like it is a good deal because at that weight, at that thickness, a lot of the other pads don't offer that. So compared to self-inflating pads, I think this is one of your better buys, if not the best buys, for backpacking. TherMA-REST has just been at this self-inflating game for so long that they have done they do a great job with it, and it's pretty hard to beat. They're the kings of self-inflating pads. So if you're looking for a self-inflating backpacking pad for reliability, ease of use, that sort of thing, it's not going to be the lightest, but it's going to do the job you need it to do. This is a good option. Now compared to your lighter, thicker, newer pads out there, okay, yeah, I admit it's probably not gonna beat those in terms of your warmth to weight ratio, your thickness to weight ratio, and all that. But when you add in the weight of a pump sack, because I do recommend using a pump sack with the inflatable pads that don't self-inflate, because that moisture inside, that is real. That weight starts creeping. And when you're looking for something with a higher R value, yeah, there does start to be a weight creep. Okay, so yeah, this is heavier. This is 22 ounces, and yeah, you can get the Neo Air X-Lite at 12 ounces. You can get the X-Therm at, 15 ounces. But I don't know. This did the job that I was looking for it to do. It's never going to beat those pads in terms of the weight for thickness, but I feel like this provides a different experience, a more user-friendly experience, a more reliable experience. And if you like self-inflating pads, if you like that firm feel of these, it's going to do what you want it to do. Well, I think this video has definitely gone on long enough. I've gave you pretty much every single detail about it that comes to mind. I didn't talk about the pattern or the design. Yeah, I like the pattern design. Okay, I mentioned that. That's everything. I've covered everything. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you like this, if you have any questions, comment, subscribe, all that. Your viewership, your subscriptions, your comments, your likes, those encourage me to make more videos. So I guess I'll see you folks later and catch you the next time I wake up from a nap and want to review a sleeping pad. Bye.